begin with.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I'm not saying anything.
Shut the fuck up, Loom. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Conclave. I call this session Order! Order! Bad Loom. Bad Perfect. Bad Frosty. He didn't do anything, but bad
I didn't
Frosty.
do anything.
Shut up. Alright,
I've literally.
today we are talking about Loom's favourite subject, the missing character, young Griff.
I'm onto the vodka. Let's go.
Oh, great. That'll help. That'll help matters. But yes, young Griff. For those of you that don't know, shut the fuck up, the rest of you bastards, while I'm explaining this. For those show viewers who have no idea what I'm talking about, is a character that Tyrion Lannister meets on his way from, I think he landed in Pentos and went to fucking Volantis across there or whatnot. Either way, he met up with a chap, young Griff, who had blue hair with John Connington, who was secretly / allegedly Aegon Targaryen, the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, who apparently, allegedly, kind of, maybe, possibly, didn't die and was spirited to freedom by Varys. So Tyrion meets him and essentially convinced the boys to turn around rather than going to meet Dany, his alleged aunt, turn around to get the Golden Company and invade Westeros. In short, he invades Westeros where the Golden Company is back, takes a bunch of regions in the Stormlands, lays sieges, and the last we heard from him, he was laying siege to Storm's End, and has actually taken it, if we go by the,
Sample chapters, he's taken it.
Yeah, in the sample chapters of the next book, he's actually taken Storm's
Which
End.
I have not read.
Which is a big fucking thing because you know
Which
Storm's
is a big
End
freaking deal.
is not meant to get taken. It's only been taken once,
It's
was it,
supposed
by
to be.
Orys?
Well, it wasn't even taken by Orys, it was surrendered. The
Yeah.
castle's garrison
Yeah.
surrendered her.
So it's never been taken by siege.
But it would have been taken, I believe, because dragons.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, ultimately.
It's never been taken by siege by an army.
Yeah,
because
it's never been taken by siege by an army.
Mace
yeah.
was sieging it for several weeks.
Yeah, that's essentially
makes
where we
sense.
are as far as young Griff is concerned for the books. He's just taken Storm's End, and we don't know anything more from there. The whole thing around him is he Rhaegar's son, or is he secretly a member of the Blackfyre family, which is a cadet branch of the Targaryens from way back? Or is he just some whore, lowborn kid that Varys and his little allies
Random
are
fake.
playing off as as Aegon and just sort of using him as a puppet king? So, yeah, that entire storyline has been cut from the show, which is what causes Loom to cry like a little bitch. Loom?
More than normal.
Yeah, more than... Yeah, he's gone.
Who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, we saw
Welcome
that. And Para's choking on vodka, trying to drown his sorrows at the loss of poor little Griffy. As far as the show goes, I think that I gave up on Griff showing up. He could have shown up like last season or something.
That was, I think, the latest point that they could have introduced him and it been viable.
Yeah.
Would have been season 5. Season 6 would have still been too late.
Yeah. They have made mention to the Blackfyres before. I think Barristan made mention to them at some point.
No, it was, I think, Tywin when he was speaking to Tommen.
Is Loom just going to sort of like drop
No, he
in
said-
and out all the time?
He said his internet started cutting out.
How convenient.
There we are.
Yeah.
There we go.
The moment we start talking about your fucking little kid.
I know, right?
Uh-huh.
The
This
fucking
is all
internet
for
dies.
Your fault.
But
The
yeah,
internet died, then Skype crashed.
Sure, it did. By the point in this show, he's not showing up. There's no way in hell HBO is going to introduce him at this point. It's just not.
There's
gonna
not
happen.
enough time. Season 6 was the time they should have introduced him if they were going to.
Unless we go by plot leaks.
In which case, Rhaegar named 2 sons Aegon because...
Well, yeah, we'll get into that. I did have a theory at one point that like Gendry was going to sail over to Gendry, who's like replaced Edric Storm, was going to return at some point and fill in Aegon's role with the Golden Company and like lay siege to Storm's End to reclaim it. And
Which
so
I would have been personally even more mad about.
Yeah, I would have been pissed off
How
about that as
would-
well. I thought maybe they're
How
doing
did you
that.
get the
but
Golden Company?
obviously
Like,
not.
what-
Fucking HBO logic.
Why would they follow
HBO is the answer to that
know.
question. Frosty, HBO.
Dan and Dave!
Yep,
Fair enough,
D&D.
fair enough. I'm sorry.
D&D logic.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course it does. Give me enough money, it'll make sense. But yeah, that's obviously scrapped. It's not going on.
Right. So what's the point where Aegon has been shaped for the thing. So what was it? Varys claims that he was switched.
Varys claims
knowledge
that...
of the wildfire plot had been given to the spy master enough time for a suitable baby to switch with the baby Aegon during the siege of King's Landing, or the sacking of King's Landing, giving the Targaryen dynasty a chance to survive. Varys then spirited Aegon away to Volantis with Myrpatis, is that his name?
Something like that, yeah.
Whatever, and they looked after Aegon.
Yeah.
They then got
essentially Varys allegedly saved him before the Mountain could crush his head against the wall. The child that was killed in as Aegon Targaryen was just some pissed water kid from Flea Bottom.
Which is, of course, not the theory everybody believes.
Because it's a secondary one with... How did the Blackfire thing come about anyway? There's like a line from the book about a sign falling... a Targaryen red sign falling in.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was more so that it was commented that with the death of Aegon, or whoever the last... Battle of the Ninepenny Kings, they said... And so with... No, Maelys. With Maelys the Monstrous... The male line of Blackfires was wiped out. Specifically mentioned the male line.
Right, okay.
Rather than just saying Blackfires.
Right, okay. Before Bloom starts being stupid.
Just hurry up and say your point.
He's got that point correct, but it's the daughter of, what's his name, the Monstrous, has no recorded history of death. The presumed theory is that she married Illyrio, whatever his name is.
He's one of Varys' allies.
And their child is Aegon, and
there's also theories of Varys.
That's the general theory, and there's a theory that I've started to back away from because I don't believe that
it's too
perfect. It's too obvious.
Yeah,
and it's not George R. R. Martin's style. Well, I believe Varys has found this child that's got the same thing.
I'd be more inclined to believe that he is a Targaryen than a Blackfire at this point. Right, I feel like the point is the Blackfires are done.
Right, Loom? Sure.
It says that the female line is currently not known what happened to them.
Yeah,
the male line is extinguished.
No.
Yeah, but I think that's been done for a purpose to give a false trail, where I think Varys has just found a Lyseni orphan or Lyseni slave child and just taken it and educated it for this purpose and given it
piss water prince, essentially.
If you tell a little child that they're the king and that they've got a rightful claim, and then you start training them for such a thing, they're not going to question it. They're going to
you can grab in Essos
find somebody
any
that looks
child with Valyrian traits. The Valyrian traits aren't really all that common.
More common in
rare
Essos.
in Essos.
Yeah, the thing you were talking about, Parafix, about him having as a false trail, that's something George R. R. Martin does a lot. So it wouldn't surprise
he has left
a lot of people readers
in that regard. There's that.
Yeah, he does that a lot though. He tries to put people off the.
There's the thing about
the true story.
The sign, the Targaryen sign or something, washing up as it used to be red, but now it's like. It used to be black, and now it's red with rust or something after being washed to sea.
That's in the pub or whatever. Yeah, the Crossroads Inn.
What the exact quote is for that? If one of you wants to find it.
I can't remember it.
The main thing is the prophecy of Daenerys will be betrayed by love and all that kind of crap.
Yeah,
as well as a
Murmur's dragon.
There will also be a false dragon. Is it false? Yeah, it's a false dragon.
Mummer's dragon.
Mummer's dragon.
Yeah, Mummer's dragon.
And the Mummer's dragon, it connects way too much to Varys, and it connects way too much to Aegon, where a Blackfire is still a dragon.
Yeah.
That's where I think I'm with R plus L equals J being pretty much confirmed, and
that's it, isn't it? Can't dry.
And the visions within that Daenerys experienced within the Warlocks bullshit thing with the blue flower on top of the wall, and the
blue flower
pretty much obvious signs that the King's Landing is going to be burnt to a crisp before Daenerys gets there. I think it's too obvious that young Griff is just a Lyseni child that's been forced up to make believe that he's Aegon Targaryen.
Which we're going to explain why they removed him from the show, in theory, which is it kind of ruins it for the books, which is why I hated it, where I really hope he was going to show up.
But I believe that for him to follow the Golden Company, I believe that he's been shown to be is it Harry Strickland,
Yeah,
Commander?
Harry Strickland.
Do you want that quote?
I believe he thinks that he's a Blackfire, and I think the only reason why he will believe that is because of the Blackfire sword, and I think Illyrio has that in his possession, has given it to Harry to give to him when he claims himself King of Westeros. And I don't believe... I think Aegon in the books has not said that he is Aegon Targaryen, and he wasn't planning on doing so until he took Storm's End. Until he had a strong point to... a key point to lay out his invasion.
A foothold in Westeros, essentially.
Yeah. So I think within the first chapter or two, young Griff will be wielding Blackfire sword, which will make him look a lot more legitimate, and it will make other people presume that he is a genuine Targaryen or Blackfire.
Yeah.
But I think that coin will be flipped on its head.
It'll be the literal Mummer's Dragon.
Yeah, that will be flipped on its head later on in the either Dance of Dragons or...
You got that quote, Frosty?
I've just found that quote.
Yeah.
It's...
You want to go for it?
Podrick Payne. He says, "Is the dragon still there?" And then Septim Maribald says, "No, when the smith's son was an old man, a bastard son of the fourth Aegon rose up in rebellion against his true-born brother and took for his sigil a black dragon. These lands belonged to Lord Derry then, and his lordship was fiercely loyal to the king. The sight of the black iron dragon made him wroth, so he cut down the post, hacked the sign into pieces, and cast them into the river. One of the dragon's heads washed up on the Quiet Isle many years later, though by that time it was red with rust." And
that's of course referring to
Griff. Allegedly Aegon, flying off to the ocean and washing up ashore on the Stormlands, red with rust, as a Blackfire. It's one of those little subtle hints that could not be a hint and completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Sprinkles that shit in.
But I think one of the biggest things about Aegon, though, is the fact that is it that relevant whether or not he is legitimately the heir?
It's relevant.
As opposed to
he's got an army.
Whether or not people
as
believe
opposed to whether or not he is the best choice for a ruler. So there's all the thing.
All that matters is if they believe it or not.
Yeah, if he's believed to be it, and if he fits the role of king.
Para,
and if he's the one with the
army. It matters at the point where Daenerys arrives at King's Landing.
Yeah.
That's the only time that will matter. It doesn't matter how groomed and trained he is for the position. Second Daenerys meets him, and the dragons don't like him, bye. It's just like I don't think he's got any plausible chance of surviving the books.
No,
I think
his removal from the
takes
show. His removal from the show stands to reason that he's not going to be in any way overly important.
When do you think he'll die?
I think she takes his men, and that accounts for the Dothraki in the show. That accounts for the extra men that she has in the show, as opposed to the men that she doesn't have in the books.
How do you think he died, Loom? Yeah. That's a good point. How do you think he dies in the books?
Do you think he makes it to King's Landing?
Except in the fact that it's highly unlikely that he gets King's Landing, or maybe he does, and then Danny shows up.
Maybe he takes King's Landing and she takes it from him. There's so many possibilities.
He won't take King's Landing. King's Landing is being burnt to a crisp just before Daenerys arrives. It'll be Cersei's last fuck you.
So what's happening with Aegon then?
I would love to see Randall
Tarly. I don't think Daenerys gives a shit.
I would love to see Randall Tarly leading an army into the Kingswood and fucking him up.
That has a lot of potential. They kill each other, and then Daenerys just comes in and takes it all for herself. Like picks up. I swear,
I imagine it being like where because the Golden Company does it's slowly gathering its elephants and its forces and all that sort of shit, and it will lead into a massive battle, and it will.
Tarly versus Connington would be a battle.
You have two old figures of the original War of the Usurper, Robert's Rebellion, and then we know
George R. R. Martin is trying to get rid of them, as evidenced by something we talked about earlier.
So he can kill both or two of the last remaining generals from that time.
And
In one massive fight.
Randall Tully in the books at the moment, I believe, is at Maidenpool, so he's not too far away to lead a force into the King's area.
Run down south real quick and meet up with his men.
It makes sense that he'd be called to deal with it. Actually, he's in the Crown Lands. He's
he's in the Crown Lands. He's with Kevin Lannister dead, and with Jamie.
He's the logical choice.
Doing his thing in the Riverlands. Tarly
is the only choice, really.
Oh yeah, true.
Tarly is the person that you want to lead against a usurper in Cersei's mind. So
it's him or Jamie,
and one of the greatest, and one of the best generals around. It
won't be Jamie. Jamie will be away from all that.
And
Jamie's the only other real option.
I personally would love to see to be able to read a chapter from Aegon's perspective, with him wielding Blackfire, being all cocky, and seeing Randall fucking Tarly with Heartsbane clashing against Blackfire, because it would. I'd love it to be an overconfident little wannabe king, then realizing
Tarly just carving
this guy is a motherfucker with that sword. He is going to fuck me up.
Son of a bitch.
In a perfect world, Dany dies before making it to King's Landing. Aegon takes King's Landing. Everyone accepts him as king, and everyone's happy.
Perfect world for you.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I don't like him though.
But this is written by George R. Martin, therefore nobody gets what they want.
Literally nobody.
I literally love
the way that I imagine reading it is like from Aegon's perspective about his feeling like his strength wavering once he's realizing how brutally strong Tarly is and how swift he is, and living up to his legendary capability as a fighter alone, not just as a commander. But I'd like to see the elephants get completely destroyed by Tarly. Tarly just being a good commander, and figuring a way how to counter it.
Aegon's not a point of view character yet, is he?
No.
I don't think so. It's John Connington, isn't it?
It's just Connington.
It's from Tyrion's perspective, and
Connington's had at least one chapter.
He's towards the end.
He had
like one or two.
I think he's had two.
Yeah.
I know he's had at least one because we learned about the grayscale.
Yeah. It's a really far off one.
Regardless.
I loved the idea of him being still Targaryen, but just because nothing was mentioned of it, but being from Brightflame.
Yeah, that's
the fact that Brightflame went to Essos,
that's a whole
had a son,
freaking.
But he had a son, and then nothing was known of him.
Yeah,
his son isn't reported to have died.
That's a whole different fucking kettle of fucking fish.
See, going on to my point, I think it'll be, the corpse of, or like a dying Aegon, and then John Connington jumping in between Tarly, and then both fucking at each other up to the point where they both die. Because Connington ain't gonna fucking survive that.
It would be a thing where John Connington sees Rhaegar in Aegon, isn't it? As in his last moments.
Yeah.
And realizes he needs to redeem himself to Rhaegar by saving Aegon.
Yeah, and it'll result in all three dying.
There's no way Aegon survives.
Especially since he's been completely cut from the show. There's no way in hell.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to do anything. He's not going to take King's Landing or sit on the Iron Throne or anything like that. I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he did, I believe the dragons would eat him when they met him.
Perfectly honest, because in the show,
sat on the throne, it wouldn't be for long.
Yeah.
If in the show they're doing John supposedly getting with Dany, in the books it makes more sense to have Aegon be the one with Dany. And even if they're changing John's name to Aegon, it seems like they're trying to merge parts, even if that's not true. But it seems like they're trying to merge parts.
To clarify on that, according to some plot leaks,
supposedly
in season 7, supposedly Samuel Tarly will figure out that John's name is technically.
Go watch the earlier episodes.
Yeah, if you watch the earlier season 7 discussion thing, we went
if that merge is happening,
yeah,
it would make more sense in the books to not have merged them and to keep him as a separate character. And then you have what in the books is obviously important, not so much in the show.
No, but
the three heads of the dragon.
Right, but you're forgetting what Daenerys is like. If she's to accept that he's a fucking Targaryen, it means she has to step down as the ruler. Even as a queen, she would not be the ruler. It'd be Aegon, because
she's not a ruler, though, is she?
He is the more legitimate heir.
I think Loom's letting his dislike of Daenerys get in the way of fact.
There is no, but there's the thing about her being a conqueror rather than a ruler.
Daenerys is going to marry Aegon. she will marry into a big player, possibly Devon Lannister, possibly.
I was say the Lannisters is a good call for her.
Lannisters,
Just makes
the
the most
Vale.
sense.
Marriage with
The
Jon
Tyrells.
Snow makes fucking sense, but I don't think she's going to marry him.
It's
'cause
too happy you lovey, isn't it?
The Tyrells,
it's
I think,
too-
In
makes
the
a lot
end,
of sense.
Yeah.
Daenerys is going to die as well. I don't think she's.
Oh, yeah,
gonna-
Daenerys.
Bloom had a
she's
really
right.
good point just a second ago that made me think of something. The three heads of the dragon, if those supposed plot links are true, and one of the dragons, Viserion, I believe, dies up north, then that makes a lot of sense for Aegon to die. Because then one of the dragons are dead, and then two heads of the dragons will still be alive. One of the heads of the dragon are dead, and one of the dragons are dead. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah,
Aegon
there's
would be
a parallel
dead.
there.
One of the dragons, one of the
Assuming he
dragon
was
riders
ever,
would be
assuming
dead.
he was ever Targaryen before, and assuming that the prophecies actually ever
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
anything, like we covered before, they are rather
Yes,
self-fulfilling.
yes. A lot of assumptions. That's just something that popped into my head.
The-
If that's true, that would add a lot of credibility to that.
The three heads of the dragons is, I think, is too obvious, and it's. I
yeah,
don't
it's
think
very
people-
weak. I just felt like mentioning
No,
it
no,
to
it's
stimulate.
people are not really looking into.
It could also
the
just mean
books.
Targaryen, as in
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
Targaryen of a Targaryen descent.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean fucking Targaryen.
Of which
at
we
all.
only have for sure two.
I don't. I think
Yeah.
it's the three heads
I
of
was
the
really
dragon.
confused
The
there.
three heads of the dragons is not based on Targaryen lineage at all. I think the three dragons is. I think it's going to be Daenerys with two people who are there who are
Support
running
her.
shit with
What?
her.
What
And
is
I
the
think
theory
that's-
about the three heads of the dragon? Is it that they are needed to save the realm or something?
There must be three heads to the dragon. It's the prophecy of the the prince that was promised.
What if it is just Daenerys' three dragons dying? As in, three heads, the dragons having to be killed. Fulfill the
No,
prophecy.
it's not described. It's the way it's described there. It's in the prince that was promised. It's three children of Jaehaerys Targaryen's line,
Yeah.
and but that's the way it's been interpreted. But I think it'll be one child of Jaehaerys Targaryen line, which will be Daenerys, and two people that work that kind of work for her. So you'll have, I think it'll be Jon, who leads her armies,
Yeah.
and it'll be Tyrion, who governs. But it doesn't mean that they're
One to
Targaryen.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like the
Even
leader
if
and then
Jon
the
is.
left and right hands. It
They're-
makes sense.
Which is
They're the
similar to
people
Aegon
to-
and his sister wives.
yeah,
they're
that's
the
it's,
people
it makes
to
a lot of
implement
sense. It
like the
draws
drastic
parallels.
changes that Westeros is gonna need.
Oh,
after
that
all.
parallel, isn't it? Aegon and his sister wives as opposed to Daenerys and then two
Yeah.
men as her advisors.
Which
Yeah,
all have
that's-
Targaryen blood, supposedly.
Let's not
Because
get too
you
far
think
into the
about
whole fucking
Tyrion
prophecy
and
theory
his
there.
supposed bastard father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
as much as I want to
bollocks.
believe that theory, it's
It's
just
bollocks.
it's not.
I'm saying I said supposed.
Tyrion is Tywin's best son, the most like Tywin son.
But right, I could argue that point, but I won't bother. But it's a bit beyond the same point as Aegon's been raised into that position, same as Tyrion's been raised into position.
Yeah.
But fuck me, this vodka's going straight through me.
Stop drinking it.
Don't
Aaron.
mix drinks, guys. But no, I think the end result is going to be. It would make sense for all three dragons to die, and also three heads of the dragons. And as much as I don't want to see it, and I can't imagine a way where he can get away with writing Tyrion's death. He's admitted that Tyrion's his favorite character. He's the most developed character. He's the most intriguing character.
He's everybody's favorite,
But
just about, except for Blue.
But,
No, but he is George's.
Yeah, and I'm saying he's like everybody as well. Like everybody fucking loves him.
but he's not exactly a commander. But like he's not going to be on the front lines. Daenerys can.
He's an
mount,
advisor. And he's
Daenerys can mount Drogon. It makes sense for her to die in battle, or
You think she'd let with a lack of a third rider, you'd think she'd let Tyrion ride the third dragon. The Tyrions,
it's not down to.
In the show, they seem somewhat friendly.
It's not down to what she allows. It'll be down to the dragons or what they allow.
Yeah,
I don't think
there's a bond.
I will
between
be
them both.
severely disappointed if anyone but Daenerys can mount a dragon. I don't want to see anyone else. On
I'd
the
say
back
Jon
of the
could.
fucking dragon.
I don't want Jon to mount a dragon.
Jon's Rhaegar's son. I see no
but
reason if he met the dragons and this was around them enough, and if Dany drew the trust Jon and was around him enough that he couldn't mount the dragons.
See, I think
it's primarily more to do with if Dany trusts you and the dragons trust you. There's a certain bond, just like
there's a connection between that.
Just like there's a connection between Starks and the direwolves.
Yeah.
If
Jon doesn't trust you, then Ghost doesn't trust you.
Yeah.
And if Ghost doesn't trust you, then Jon probably doesn't trust you.
If Dany doesn't trust you, the dragons most certainly aren't going
But
to.
The whole thing that stops me from believing that either Jon or Tyrion or Aegon or whoever rides another dragon is just simply for the fact that Tyrion has been emphasizing to dragon dreams and all that kind of shit, which tends to be a Targaryen thing, but at the same time, the things that counteract it is quite strong, and I don't think he would ever believe that he's a Targaryen, and to even to bring that up in the show would be almost impossible. It'd be like R plus L equals J. That shit has to be brought in slowly. The last 2 seasons with little finger references and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
even just
they can show up and hop on a dragon.
Yeah, but the only person that I can imagine is Bran Stark, who keeps getting completely ignored. Bran Stark.
Bran who?
He will walk a dragon. It's been prophesied since season fucking 2 and book 2. It's from Bloodraven, Brendan Rivers. That's a prophecy that I'm more inclined into believing than any other prophecy.
Yeah.
And that is you won't walk again, but you will fly. That he's gonna be walking a fucking dragon. He can walk into humans, for fuck's sake. He can walk into a dragon.
Yeah.
And it would make sense of another dragon dying very early on. So it'd be 2 dragons, and that would be Bran mounting one, Bran walking one, and maybe even mounting it. It wouldn't shock me if he's on the back of the fucking thing while I was walking it. But and then Daenerys mounting the other. But the way that I picture Jon is, I think they've kind of given an inkling towards it in the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, I do picture Jon on the field of the men rather than flying above.
I want to see Jon leading the army. I want him in the front fucking lines and battling countless odds and fucking fighting to the death.
Yeah.
And Daenerys has got that. She ain't a warrior, but she can fucking mount the fucking thing. Bran is a little fucking wizard. He can do all this little fucking weird things. He can find weak points in the armies and strategies and know how to counter the White Walkers and that kind of shit. But yeah, Aegon, even if he was declared a Targaryen, he's gonna fuck all to no one gives a shit. The battle against the White Walkers, which is the key point of the whole fucking series, is Aegon has nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
I
think we all agree he's gonna die long before
It's just not gonna happen. I kind of want to imagine Jaime, Brienne, Jon, Sandra Clegane, Doris of Mere, all these kind of
probably
characters that have been fleshed out and developed.
I feel like Jaime's one of the characters most likely to survive.
Yeah, I've always thought Jaime might
live.
be one of the last to look over the graveyard at the end.
Yeah, he'll probably live and rule the West.
Based on his character development and how he changed from the clear bad guy to a really honourable knight.
I bet he'll end up living and ruling the West, reluctantly.
Yeah, he obviously doesn't want to.
I can just picture Jaime standing over a mass graveyard and just
being like, "What the fuck? This sucks."
Yeah. But we all agree. We all agree Aegon's fucked, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, super fucked.
Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit about the Blackfires?
A little bit.
Which is the whole
if you
thing.
want to. Yeah.
But the Blackfires definitely need. But the Blackfire rebellions definitely need a whole episode.
Well, yeah.
I don't think
There's so much there because we could talk about Bloodraven and oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Bittersteel.
I think it's
I'm happy to talk about Bloodraven now, but anything else with the Blackfires is just not relevant to the subject.
Well, quickly,
It's
just
because there's
basically
so
one of
much
the points is
there.
that Aegon is a Blackfire, supposedly, which we've spoken about earlier.
Yeah.
Blackfires being...
We could talk about
Bastard
the. Hey, wait. Let's
branch.
talk about the Blackfires and how they were. Oh man. Well, we're only 29 minutes in. We might.
That's
as well
what I mean,
just
we've got time. So,
let's go. Let's go.
so he was...
let's not go
From
too
Fix
much into the
Blackfire.
fucking Blackfires
No.
because we've already talked at length about Aegon and then gone off.
And
about
everyone,
the
everyone knows how the Blackfires started off. And
I still
Yeah.
love...
If we
I
do,
still
if
love a
we
load
do
of
Blackfire
people...
thing, it'll be a separate fucking episode,
Yeah.
not this. And like I said, these don't need to be an hour long every time.
Yeah. I still love a load of people who claim that Aegon, the dispute of whether or not he is a Targaryen or Blackfire, and about how that affects his claim. And I think me and you have spoken about it before, so it does fuck all to affect his claim. He's still more legitimate than Dany's if he is.
Yeah, well, the Targaryens go by a male first in all instances. The eldest male goes before everything. If there's a male descendant, he inherits over the male.
The
over
entire
the female.
Blackfire line is more legitimate than the entire Targaryen line.
They did that.
on the fifth.
a bastard is not legitimate over a female heir.
If he's a bastard, then
He's not a bastard.
He is from a bastard cadet.
A legitimized branch.
Yeah, but that's
But
still a separate branch. It's a
it's
separate
still a
house. It's not
separate-
Targaryen. It's Blackfire.
Wouldn't they,
It's
no,
He's
where-
not
they were
more legitimate than
legitimized.
Dan. Hey! Hold up. I have a comparison. This is like saying that a Bolton boy is more legitimate than a Stark girl. That's what you're doing, kind of.
No.
No, because the
No,
Bolton.
no,
It's
no.
like saying a
Not
Grey
the
Stark
slightest.
boy who
Yeah.
was,
Okay. Yeah. Better comparison.
but
But
not
Boltons
quite,
aren't
because the Grey
Starks.
Starks weren't legitimized
Karstark.
as that. They're Karstark. Yeah, sorry. They're a separate line, whereas the Blackfires are a legitimized line of Targaryens.
Okay, no, I'll make it an easier example. If Jon Stark is legitimized by any fucking king, even
Well,
if
he
it was
can legitimize
Stannis,
himself
his
now.
claim would still not be over Brandon Stark. Or
Would it be
Sansa
over
Stark.
Sansa's?
It would not be over Sansa.
It would.
It would not. In that situation where if there was
He's the son of a younger daughter.
it would be if there was a
No,
genuine
if I was
concern-
saying if he was the son of Eddard Stark,
Hey,
legitimized as that.
Hey,
Sorry, no,
we're
that was
both
Defrosty.
speaking.
Sorry,
shut up.
it was Defrosty.
Yeah, Loom. Yeah.
If there was a situation,
Loom, you shit.
if that situation arose, it would end in the result of all the great lords
It ended in a
of
succession
Westeros
crisis.
being brought in together
Or a
into a
great
council
council, yeah.
meeting, and they would hands down support a legitimate female branch of the family tree than a Blackfire tree, especially when the Blackfires have been known to revolt. What, four times, 5 times?
Oh yeah, if it came to a Grand
Four?
Council and they had to pick a Targaryen over a
5.
Blackfire, they'd pick a Targaryen and just have them, she can still have kids
Breed.
called Targaryen.
And it would hands down be over the second that the Targaryen, if Daenerys just went, right, I will marry the most powerful fucking heir,
Yeah, give me a Tyrell.
and it would be okay. Well,
Yeah.
we're not going to compete with that. It'd be just game. It'd be end over. The only way that problem could be solved is if Aegon agreed to a marriage
More
where
powerful.
Yeah,
marriage.
Daenerys was
I think
eager.
Loom's point was that even as a Blackfire, he still has the claim to the throne, even if
He has
if
a
he is-
claim,
still-
but it's a weaker claim.
He still has a claim on the throne, but it's weak, and it's going from a
Yeah.
very thin bloodline that cannot be proved.
Yeah.
He has a stronger claim than the Baratheons do, but a weaker claim than the Targaryens do. I'll say
Right.
that.
No, it is
No, no,
unclear.
Given how
This is
many
a quote. It is unclear whether legitimized bastards would be placed in succession according to birth order or would be placed at the end after the trueborn children. They don't know how it would go. It's not been addressed.
I don't think
whether
it's been
they go
confirmed,
before
but
or after. No,
up
that's
for
the point.
It's up for debate in that regard, but
Yeah. So you can't just say, no, Sansa would be picked over Jon Stark, because that's not decided.
I think it depends on the situation. In a time of
in
war,
my
a male
view,
would probably be chosen.
the legitimate trueborn sons come first, and then the bastard legitimate son.
That's the way I'd say
And
it.
then
Would
it would
be
be
a
the
male
girl's
line
afterwards.
always inherits after a female line, because that's the way it's
Yeah.
done, apart from Dawn, regardless of being legitimized bastard or trueborn heir. I think the male always inherits over a female.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always seen it in there.
I think it's just personal preference. I don't think I've never seen it actually confirmed in the books.
No.
In that regard.
But I think it'd be safe with the
Whoever has the
with
more powerful
House
friends.
Blackfire being formed as a separate house, in which it was.
Yeah,
Blackfire was
that's
taken
why
as-
it's the separate issue. They have their own separate lands and everything. It's a different
Yeah,
house.
and it would be the equivalent of Karstark saying, if the Starks were wiped out, saying they're the most legitimate leader.
Yeah,
And they could
Yeah,
make
that's
that
the
case.
issue is what we're saying.
They could
is
make that
it's a
case.
separate house.
They could make
and
that
that's it.
case,
That's-
mind you, but-
Blackfire is a separate house to House Targaryen. It's a
They're
separate
not
dynasty.
legitimate. They're not Targaryens. They're Blackfires. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, they still have the same
Yeah,
blood
yeah.
though. They could make that claim, no matter how watered down it is.
They can make the
Yeah, I
claim.
know, but
Yeah.
they're claims after Targaryens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they would
I'm not
be.
saying it isn't. I'm
Yeah,
very-
yeah,
They would-
we're talking.
Loomis.
We're mad at Lube, not you.
Yeah.
Lube's
They-
the
yeah.
shit.
They would be a separate house. It'd be the equivalent of Karstark trying to take claim over Jon Snow, and even if still claimed as a bastard, and he would still Jon Snow would, as the last surviving member of House Stark, he would still have the most standing for the
Yeah.
position. And
But a
that's Benjamin
Karstark
Stark's
would be
man's
better
life.
than like an Umber, you know.
No, if every single Stark was dead, the Karstarks could come forward and say, "We're technically Starks. We claim it."
Yeah. That's like if all the Targaryens are
And
dead.
then
the
you
Black-
have about 20 other lords that would come forward and say, "My great grandfather married a Stark."
You have Stark on her name. Yeah,
then
and
you'd have a
it's
giant
it's
succession
tough
war.
issue.
And
Yeah,
what you
it's a
said
tough
before
issue.
about
Blackfires are a separate family.
Loomis just ran.
That shithead.
He's ran.
Oh, he said his internet died.
No,
He
it's
says
back.
whatever ranting at you. You can't leave.
Yeah, I know. That's what I meant. Whatever you were saying, pause it for a minute, because my
We
I
didn't
didn't
read
read
it. Yeah, we were saying the basic issue is Blackfire is a separate house from Targaryen. They're
Yeah.
like the Karstarks. They don't inherit. They have their own separate castle. They don't inherit. Like the Karstarks don't. They inherit Karhold, not Winterfell.
This
The
is
Blackfire-
all just completely and utterly sort of gone way off topic.
Yeah. Let's just drag it back. Loom, you're wrong. We're right. Okay.
well, so I've got to add on to a point that you said before about the breath. Oh, for fuck's sake.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's wrong about the Baratheon thing as well. The Baratheons.
It was
have-
back-
Yeah,
For 5
Baratheon, Robert Baratheon
Hello.
had Robert Baratheon had a legitimate claim to the throne because the Targaryen married into the Baratheon line.
Yeah.
And he had more of a
It
claim
was his
than
grandmother.
He'd have
Murderous.
stronger. He'd have stronger Targaryen blood than the Blackfire would through the many dead and ancestral. You know, there's a lot of fucking dead
yeah.
Blackfires.
Robert
Yeah.
had a stronger claim than any Blackfire ever could.
The Blackfire line's really thin with Targaryen blood.
And that
going
would
back to
then-
when he was, Daemon's father, it's fucking huge. So yeah, Baratheon would come before Blackfire if we go by that.
Yeah,
so-
the Baratheons were super intermarried with.
But all the
Targaryens.
Baratheons are dead. So other than Edric.
Well, yeah, at this point,
or Robert's bastards.
except for good old Gendry, and if you're going by the books, Edric.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Stannis is still alive in the books.
he won't be for long. But anyway,
Yeah,
give
but
it,
he's still
give
alive
it a
in the
couple
books.
chapters.
fucking hell.
yeah.
There we go.
Bloom's
Okay.
internet's dead, and I do believe we've covered
Back-
everything.
back
that
to
we can
top.
I
say
keep
about
coming back and then vanishing
Aegon,
again.
unless anyone has anything else to add beyond the
Where
point.
did we stop at?
Huh?
We've been going for 40 minutes. Do we have
Oh.
anything else we want to cover?
At this point, I believe we've covered everything for Aegon at this point, really. We've ranted on about the three heads of the dragon for a bit and went off into a rant about succession and scaring the shit out of Liam, so he disconnected every 2 seconds. Conveniently.
I want to finish
So-
that debate, and I'm sure we will in a Blackfire video.
Not in this
Yeah.
episode, we won't.
Especially
We'll
with
do it in
my
a
internet
Blackfire
dying every now and again.
video.
So,
We could do a
so
fucking
long
Blackfire
story
episode.
short, Aegon is
Fuck.
super fucked.
Yep.
He's never gonna be the king for very long if he is ever the king. In the books, in the show, they're trying to, I guess, turn Jon into some kind of parody of him.
Yep.
Is what we decided.
Potentially. At least,
Yeah, and
at
then-
least in the name concept of
Yeah.
Danny.
In name,
Oh,
and-
and,
Danny
oh,
and
and in the
everything.
show, Jorah Mormont got merged with John Connington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of.
Mormont's a worse version of Connington because I fucking love Connington in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mormont will never be as
As-
cool.
as far
Don't
as
get me
mer-
wrong,
as far
I
as
kind of like
merging-
Mormont.
As far as merging, like, Aegon with Jon, if it's just in the name concept, if he ends up with, oh, your real name was Aegon, and they just gloss over the fact that Rhaegar already had a son called Aegon.
But they could. But if he ends up with Dany, they could merge him a lot more. Like, there's potential there.
They could, but the only similarity between that is Daenerys arriving and finding another claimant to the throne that she didn't know was there, kind of thing. But we'll see what happens in that. I do believe we covered everything for Griff.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, anything more will be beating a dead horse.
Yeah, we'll beat the shit out of the dead horse if we ever do a Blackfire episode.
Fuck it up.
Yeah. All right. That's all for now. Yep.
Perfix is gonna die.
Cheers.
So.
Yeah, Para's gonna pass out from vodka poisoning, so we'll end it.
Gents.
Goodbye.